does that make you laugh so much to say that way?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dirt Nap City. We are in season 2. I'm not sure what episode this is because we often mix them around. But my name is Kelly, and I'm here with my buddy Alex. We are actually recording live. I can look across the table and see him sitting there looking like a Greek god. What's up, Alex?
What's up, Kelly?
We just finished recording an episode that Alex did that I'm not going to say who it was because it was pretty interesting. So, but we're about to do my episode here. And remember how that works. I will start and I'll give you some clues, but Alex doesn't know who the topic is, who the subject is for this one. It is an interesting person, and that person is dead.
This part always makes me nervous.
Yeah, because there could be a lot of repercussions if you get this wrong.
I just feel like I'm being quizzed, and I feel like if I don't get it right, then what does that say about me? And the thing that makes me feel stupid is that everyone listening knows who it is.
That's how it was in the last episode we recorded for me, and I got it. I guessed.
I think I give easier clues than you do.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. I think we should go back and actually do a tally of who has the most correct guesses.
I'm sure it's you.
Who doesn't? Okay, because you give easier clues. Is that what you're trying to say?
Right.
Okay, well, give
you're
harder.
Smarter than me.
Give harder. There you go. There's the right answer.
All right, that's the end of the show. That's the whole purpose of the podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Just to get me to say that.
Yes, mission accomplished. That was the last episode of Dirt Nap City. Okay, so no, this one I think you're going to get. These, I realized that. I think my clues were a little bit vague. This guy was married. Do you have a guess?
Let me see.
Okay, no, hold on. I got it
Monty
for you.
Hall.
Dude! This person was born in 1879 in Ulm, U-L-M, Germany. Now, Ulm is a small town between Munich and Stuttgart, and he was born in 1879.
And there's a town in Texas called New Ulm.
Neu-Ulm, yeah.
Right? You know that place?
No.
New Ulm, yeah.
Where is that?
Somewhere around here.
Between Stuttgart and Munich? Texas?
Yeah.
Between Paris and Sweetwater?
Ulm. I've been to Stuttgart.
Yeah?
No, I don't know if I have, actually.
You've been to Munich?
No.
Well, it is a small town, 1879. He then, as a child, moved to Italy with his family, lived in Switzerland for a bit, and then moved to the U.S.
What are you going to give me the years? 1877, you said?
1879 he was born. He moved to Italy when he was 15, so that would have been like the very late 1800s, 1885.
When did he move to the U.S.?
He moved to the U.S. Actually, this is a big clue. At the beginning of World War II, and he moved for a reason out of Germany.
Okay. Well, that doesn't narrow it down. But are we talking about Einstein?
We actually are, yes.
Oh, nice. You know what I like about Einstein is that you can't talk about him without somebody thinking you're being sarcastic.
Right, because Einstein is associated with bright, smart.
But it's so much so that by calling somebody an Einstein never means you're meaning that they're smart.
You're not actually complimenting them.
No.
It's like me calling you Mr. Muscles.
Hey. Way to go, Einstein. Is never a compliment, right?
Right. That's funny, though. But no, he was married twice. That was going to be my next clue. And then I was going to say...
Why is that a clue?
Well...
That's not a clue.
That's just a...
You think I have a database in my head of the number of marriages that every dead person has had? And... Oh, I was going to say, Albert Schweitzer.
But he was married 3 times.
But yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Okay, but my next clue was going to be he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. Okay, that you got to admit, that would have reined it in. But you guessed early. Sure. You're smart. You're smarter than me, Alex.
I'm a regular Einstein.
You're regular. Oh, you stole that.
And what year was the bagel company?
We're going to actually
That's
get to that.
That's how I know of him, is a bagel manufacturer.
So actually, I do have on here a list of companies that have Einstein's name. You want to hear kind of some things that he
I know Baby Einstein.
There's Baby Einstein, right? And another kind of interesting thing about that is that he has, or his estate actually has a website that you can go to. It's einstein.biz. And it's run by Greenlight Rights. This company manages the rights of dead people. See, I'm thinking we're going to do a collab with them at some point.
We got to.
But like if
we're
Marilyn
probably
Monroe
on the radar already.
If you want to use Marilyn Monroe's image in a commercial or an ad, a print ad or something, you go to greenlightrights.com, or if you want to use Einstein's, you go to einstein.biz and it'll redirect you to Greenlight Rights, and then you negotiate from there. There's like a little form you can fill out. But Einstein bagels, you're right. Good bagels. I mean, I feel like they're kind of like the Panera of the bagel shops. They're not bad. They're kind of consistent. They're not going to be the best bagel in the world, but if you want a bagel in a city you've never been to before, and it's not New York, then Einstein's Bagels is probably a good
choice. If we cut out the part where you said it's not the best bagel in the world, we could actually have them as a sponsor, but you ruined that.
Well, if they sponsor us, I'll call them the best bagel in the world. Yeah, they got to earn that, man. Einstein has a moving company.
That's not earning. You mean paying equals earning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those trucks, the big moving trucks with pictures of Einstein on the side?
No.
I mean, I don't know why you'd need really brainy physicists to move your furniture.
That makes no sense to me.
Kind of skinny-armed weaklings to move your furniture. There's also an Einstein Health Network. So much like HCA, there's the Hospital Corporation of America. Einstein Health Network is a series of hospitals and clinics.
You don't have to pay for that. You just have to pay for his image. So you could just tack the name Einstein on anything, and it's supposed to up its.
I think you got to pay for the name. I think I think this Greenlight Rights has a lot of lawyers.
You think the moving company is paying Greenlight?
I think they probably negotiated some sort of. Yeah, I don't.
But it doesn't say Albert Einstein.
Well, okay. A long time ago, there was a online education company called NotHarvard.com, and they actually had to change their name because they couldn't use the word Harvard, even though it said not Harvard, just like not at Dirtnap City. If you want to email us, by the way, not at dirtnapcity.com.
And is anybody going to give us trouble about that? I guess Dirtnap City would be the one to give us trouble with that.
Yeah. They're the municipality of Dirtnap City has already sent us some cease and desist legal documents, but we're ignoring them because they're dead. There's an Einstein High School in Maryland. Yeah. Okay.
Now that would be named after him.
Yeah, it's actually Albert Einstein High School.
Sure.
This was supposed to be later in the show, but you just skipped right to it, so I'm going with it. Salesforce.com has an AI automation and decision-making product that is called Einstein. And then most interesting, I kind of thought, and of course there is Baby Einstein. There's a tablet, there's like a little kid's tablet that's called Einstein that teaches kids math. Mm-hmm. There is a website, digitalhumans.com. Now, if you go to digitalhumans.com, they actually have a AI Einstein where they've recreated his voice, and kind of like all the AI stuff we're seeing right now, like what is the big one? ChatGPT. You can have conversations with this Einstein and ask questions, and he will answer you in Einstein's voice. And they've recreated his face. So that one is digitalhumans.com.
Is it creepy or cool?
When I went, so I guess they only have so much server capacity. When I went to the website, they said Einstein was sleeping or Einstein was busy, so I couldn't actually interact with him. But there was there's several other choices you can make, and one was just this woman that I could talk to, and she was very cool. She was very realistic looking.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear about his life. But one thing that it strikes me is that when you talk about his image or his face pops up, he's kind of frozen in this particular age that we all know him with the crazy hair and he's probably 75 years old or something at that point. That's the one that we know, right?
Yeah.
We don't know the
younger, more dashing
30-year-old. Right. Which also makes it a curious choice for a moving company. It's like an 80-year-old man,
right,
who doesn't have any muscles.
80-year-old nerd physicist. It's like he and Neil deGrasse Tyson show up at your house to move your furniture.
Is their tagline "Work smarter, not harder"?
That would be a great one. That would be a great one. No, I think their tagline is "Move equals pay us squared."
Ah, nice.
So all of that said. He is definitely one of the most famous scientists in the world, certainly in modern times. Some of his contributions to science. Did you know that he gave us Avogadro's number?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know Avogadro's number?
Man, remember we took physics together with Miss Nix.
Miss Nix. Yep. 6.02 times 10 to the negative 23rd.
I was just going to say that.
Is Avogadro's number.
All I remembered was Miss Nix.
It has to do with, is this a Van Halen song we got coming up here?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. I thought it was Miss Mariotti. I thought Miss Mariotti taught.
Oh, yeah, Miss Nix was chemistry.
Yeah. Miss Mariotti was.
Well, in either case, not a Van Halen song.
So Avogadro's number has to do with like the amount of mass in a certain number of moles. Moles are a measure of units. Anyway, Brownian movement. He brought us the Brownian movement. It was a dance, really popular in the early 1900s. Quantum theory of light was another Einstein thing.
What? I hate to ask this question, but what was the Brownian movement?
It's like the Green Apple Quick Step.
It really was a dance?
No. You know what Green Apple Quick Step is?
It's a southern, like when you're racing to the bathroom?
It's a southern word for diarrhea, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what the Brownian movement was.
Why did you bring it up then?
I'm just telling you his major contributions according to Wikipedia. The quantum theory of light. You've heard of that, right? Yeah. Special theory of relativity, and the general theory of relativity, and then the photoelectric effect. These are things that led to not only space travel, but things like the television. Like you couldn't have TV without some of these. The photoelectric effect, led the way to the invention of television. So he was born in Germany, as we said, not Neu-Ulm, but Ulm, and he was born to working class, non-observant Jewish parents. So he was not an observant Jewish person, nor were his parents. At age 15, as I mentioned earlier, he moved to Milan, Italy, and his father had hoped he would become an electrical engineer. But guess what? He was a terrible student. Really bad. You know what his teacher said about him?
What?
They said he was slow, dim-witted, and slow to learn.
That's what Miss Nix used to say about me.
He also had no interest in learning things like language. That didn't interest him at all. And back then, I guess you memorized a lot of things. They called it learning by rote. I'd never heard, I've heard the term rote memorization, but that just means memorizing things by learning. I didn't know. Well, you would know that. Yeah. And he had a quote. He said, "School failed me and I failed school. It bored me. The teachers behaved like Feldwebel." Feldwebel means sergeants, I guess in Yiddish or German maybe. I wanted to learn what I wanted to know. They wanted me to learn for the exam. So that didn't really fit his
Reminds
style.
me of the STAR test today in Texas.
Yeah.
And the kind of things my son used to say about learning. He said, one time he told me, he said, "I used to like reading until they made us do it in school. And now I hate reading." And It broke my heart, man.
Yeah. I mean, that must show a sign of intelligence that, if Einstein felt the same way.
Yeah.
But it's all about being interested, right?
And I said, "Nice one, Einstein."
At the age of 12, Einstein picked up a book on geometry and read it cover to cover, and he later referred to it as the Holy Booklet. And that's really what kind of taught him and got him fascinated with math, was geometry. But, that was too little too late. He ended up leaving school. And the teachers actually said he had to leave school because he was a bad example and kind of bringing the other kids down. He was a bad influence on the other kids because he just didn't care.
You know what's cool, though, is this shows that if you're bright, if you have high cognitive ability, that nothing can keep you down. Like not getting kicked out of school, having bad teachers, none of that is going to – your ability is going to come out anyways. You're not going to be – nobody can shut it out. Same thing with creativity, I think, is like that too. Nobody can stifle it, right?
Yeah. It shows that, I guess, just because a student is a bad student doesn't mean they're going to be a failure in life, right?
Right. In fact, right. We see just the opposite a lot of times.
But there are times when bad students are failures in life.
Oh, yeah.
It goes both ways. So in 1896, he actually renounced his German citizenship because he didn't want to serve in the military. There was mandatory military service at the time. So he said, I'm out of here. Stateless for 4 years. He had no country to call his home until he finally applied for admission at the Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, Switzerland. So, Switzerland, they speak German. It's kind of like a little nicer, cleaner, upscale Germany, more mountains. But he actually failed the entry exam for the Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich because guess what he sucked at? Language and botany and zoology. He didn't care about those things. But the next year he passed, and in 1901 he became a Swiss citizen, and he actually met his first wife. Her name was Mileva Maric, M-A-R-I-C. They became friends. They married in 1903, and they had 2 sons. But not all was well in the relationship because his parents didn't approve. So when you got married, did your parents, what they think of?
Oh yeah.
They approved.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think both of us kind of married up a little bit.
Oh,
and so,
definitely, yeah.
So
she's a real Einstein.
It really helps when the parents like your choice of your betrothed.
His parents did not like her?
His parents didn't. As a matter of fact, he wrote a letter to her. This is the weird part. Like, he was corresponding with her, and in the letter he explained why his parents didn't like her. So he was telling Mileva why his parents didn't like her. Well, first of all, she was Serbian, and she was 4 years older. She was born 4 years older. And his mother said that by the time Albert Einstein would be 30 years old, that she would be an old hag.
Jeez.
And then she didn't like Mileva because she wasn't German. She wasn't Jewish.
He wasn't German either.
Well, not at that point, I guess.
He renounced his citizenship.
Yeah, well, she wasn't born German. She wasn't born Jewish. She was too intellectual.
You said they weren't even practicing.
And she had a limp.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were pretty harsh, I guess. And his father had a little different tack on it. He didn't like her because actually he didn't mind her. He just didn't think Einstein or young Albert should get married until he had a steady job.
So they wanted him to wait, but then if he waited and married someone his own age, they'd think she was a hag.
Well, no, they thought she was a hag because she was older than him. By the time he
only
was
4 years, though.
Yeah, only 4
It
years.
seemed like they wanted him to marry somebody younger.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were just difficult people.
Now, you know a little bit of German. The translation of hag, is that a good, does it mean the same thing here?
Hagenschnittel.
Okay.
Die Hagenschnittel.
And what does that mean?
It means old hag who's 4 years older than me. Ich liebe mein Hagenschnittel, ja.
Seriously, do you know what hag, what the
No,
Hagenschnittel-
I don't know.
Did you just make that up?
I just made that up.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I mean, Hagenschnittel.
You might have said a bad
it's like
word.
Haagen-Dazs. It's actually ice cream. Hagenschnittel is like sweet meat.
Now you're going to get us the explicit, but only in Germany, the explicit logo.
This is verboten. Dies Dörtnab City Stadt ist verboten, ja?
Yeah.
So 7 years he worked in the Swiss patent office while living in Bern, Switzerland with his betrothed, Mileva. And during that time, he actually was starting to do his scientific studies. And actually, if you go to Bern, Switzerland, there is what they call an Einstein house. And it is the place where supposedly he came up with a theory of relativity about E equals MC squared. So that was kind of a big deal that, right here in this spot, Einstein came up with this. But in 1914, he actually had an offer to begin teaching. You're familiar with that, at a university. It was the Prussian Academy of Sciences and the Humboldt University of Berlin. So in 1914, he actually became the director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics, and he moved back to Berlin and became a German citizen again. So I guess you can renounce and reinstate your German citizenship in 19...
I'm sorry, did he got a degree in this?
No, he became a teacher.
But with no degree?
No, he got his degree in Bern, in Switzerland. Sorry, no, he got his degree from the technology school in Zurich.
Was it like a PhD?
Federal Institution of Technology in Zurich.
Okay.
I don't know what they called it back then, but he did get his degree from there. moved to Bern. Bern is the capital of Switzerland.
Got it.
And he worked in the actual patent office, the Swiss patent office in Bern for many years, 7 years. And then he got the opportunity to move back to Berlin. So don't confuse Bern and Berlin.
Right.
Back to Germany to teach at the Humboldt University of Berlin.
You know what would be the dream day in the Swiss patent office, don't you? The day that somebody comes in with the design for the Swiss Army knife.
Oh, yeah.
That's every patent officer's dream.
Yeah.
Right? You've got it all right there.
Yeah.
Let's patent this thing quickly. I wonder if he had anything to do with that thing.
They didn't even call it the Swiss Army knife. They just called it Army knife. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But we have to refer to it because, like the Canadian Army knife, not nearly as cool.
Right,
It's more designed for like cutting moose.
Do you like the Swiss Army knife?
So my mom's father's family, my grandfather on my mother's side, is all Swiss. My great-grandfather came over from Switzerland, from Bern, actually, and my grandfather always gave us a Swiss Army knife every Christmas. That was like
so you have like 15 of them?
Cuckoo clocks and Swiss Army knives. We had
just stereotype.
And chocolate. Oh, man, so much chocolate.
I think the Swiss Army knife, this might be an unpopular opinion, I think it's like a bad version of every tool in there.
It's kind of agree.
Scissors that don't cut.
Yeah.
It has a plastic toothpick, right?
The tweezers. The tweezers
dull
were pretty,
nail file.
Yeah, tweezers, the bottle opener. No, I hear you. I kind of go back and forth on that because, now there's the Leatherman.
Well, you have so many to choose from, too. You have
different
15 of them.
Yeah, I do have a lot of Swiss Army knives. So after a while, he did end up moving to Berlin to teach. And while he was there, Mileva actually stayed in Switzerland. So he moved to Berlin, but she stayed in Switzerland with the two boys, I suppose. And guess what happened when he moved to Berlin? What happens when the cat's away?
Mice play?
Yes, and give the plague to people.
Oh.
No. He was the cat, I suppose. He was the cat, and he was away. And he started having an affair with Elsa Lowenthal. Lowenthal. It's like Lowenbrow. Yeah. You know what Lowen, Lowen, that's lion.
Okay.
Lionthal.
Yeah,
I don't know what thal is. But anyway, started having an affair with Elsa Lowenthal. Well, guess what Elsa Lowenthal's maiden name was? Einstein. She was actually his first cousin.
Oh, this is a callback to the Roosevelts.
Yep. Well, so her father was Rudolf Einstein, who was the cousin of Albert Einstein's father. So Albert Einstein's father was cousins with her father, but even stranger, her mother and Albert's mother were sisters. So they were first cousins.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I could see second, third cousin, once removed and all that stuff, but
yeah, and if you need a primer on once removed and twice removed, listen to the Eleanor Roosevelt episode. We break it all down.
We do charts.
And I've already forgotten.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to forget anything here because they were first cousins.
Their moms were sisters.
Kissing cousins.
So he knew her already.
Yeah. So he had actually moved back there and I guess was visiting family and Elsa was there and their eyes met and they fell in love. So he got divorced. He left. And by the way, the reason her name was Lowenthal was because she had been married once before to a guy named Max Luthenthal. So she had changed her name. And so it wasn't quite as, when he talked about it, he didn't say, I'm marrying Elsa Einstein. Which is a cool name, by the way, Elsa Einstein. That sounds pretty cool. I'm marrying Elsa Lowenthal, who happens to be an Einstein, who's my cousin.
Right. Yeah.
So
how did his parents feel about that? So his mom didn't like his wife. But
how did she like her niece?
Her niece. Is that an upgrade?
It didn't really say in there, but they got married. He divorced his first wife, Mileva, and married Elsa, and they lived together. And apparently, Albert did, according to some rumors, have some affairs throughout his time, but. Unfortunately, Elsa actually, they did move to the U.S. at the beginning of World War II, or as World War II was starting. The Nazi Party was rising. He was Jewish by birth, and he recognized in 1933 that when they started burning books and seizing property, it was time to get out of there.
Yeah, no kidding.
So he was actually in England at the time, but was offered a job at Princeton University in the U.S. So he and Elsa moved to the U.S. in 1933, and unfortunately, she died 3 years later in 1936 in the U.S. So Elsa died. He was a single man again, not married again, but probably, just a player.
And you said he had kids?
He did. He had 2 children with his first wife.
I wonder if they came to the U.S.
Well, no, actually, as I understand it, they both lived with, what's her name? Mileva. And one of them actually was institutionalized because he had mental issues, which, back then, who knows what that means?
Yeah.
They did that pretty quickly to people. But it didn't say much about his children. I didn't do much research on his children. But he moved back to the U.S. His second wife dies. He's a bachelor. And apparently, even though, despite leaving his first wife, marrying his cousin, having affairs, he still was supposedly pretty heartbroken about the loss of Elsa. I guess he really loved her. And it did say that his first wife was more of an intellectual. He had met her in school. She was like a study buddy that he married. And then Elsa was a little more somebody that he really, enjoyed being around.
Well, and it's doubly hard when your wife dies, but also your cousin.
Right. As I said before, he did study quantum theory, and he was one of the first people to discover quantum theory. It really has to do with, I do have some explanation about some of these discoveries. Quantum theory suggests that light doesn't just travel as waves, but it actually travels as electric currents.
Okay.
So this was something that was really huge in developing new technologies. Quantum theory was, and that's actually why he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, was his study about quantum theory. Now, of course, 1921, he was still living in Switzerland at that time before he came to the U.S. The special theory of relativity has to do with, there's the special and the general. The special theory of relativity has to do with relative movement. So relativity, it has the name in there. Basically, he said there's no such thing as anything standing still or moving. It's all relative to everything else. So basically, you measure movement by an object that is near another object. You don't measure it in absolute terms.
Right.
And that was actually pretty revolutionary at the time. He also said that electrons traveling close to the speed of light would gain weight.
That's pretty cool.
It's like eating too much ice cream or traveling close to the speed of light, gain weight. Yeah. This all led to E equals mc squared. So do you know what the E equals mc squared stands for?
Energy equals mass times speed squared?
Speed of light.
Speed of light.
Yeah, that's right. And
I don't know anything beyond that.
So basically what that means is that energy and mass are interchangeable. They're just two different forms of the same thing. So it was saying that, anything that is matter or mass and anything that's energy, they can take on each other's form. They're variables because you could swap, how equations work. You can swap one side for the other. They change things at the same, proportions. He also discovered the general theory of relativity, which has to do with physical laws and basing those physical laws on mathematical equations. And that was really what he studied for most of the rest of his life. That was kind of an ongoing thing, the general theory of relativity. Is almost like writing a language.
Wasn't it great that we had Einstein and people like him? Like, I'm a smart guy. You're a smart guy. But I'm a social scientist. I'm not understanding much of what you're saying. And here's a little thought experiment that I like to do sometimes. It really bums me out. What if you and I were the smartest people that ever lived, and that everybody that came before us was less smart than us?
Didn't Mike Judge make a movie about this?
Oh, well, I'm here.
Idiocracy?
Sure. This is where I'm going, though. Let's say that everybody that came before with us was either as smart but very much less smart than we were, right?
Yeah. So we're getting smarter as we go.
No, but I'm just saying if nobody before us was smarter than us, where do you think we'd be? Like, what inventions do you like? I don't think the car would have been invented.
Oh, you mean if we were like how we are right now, we're the smartest people that exist
that have ever lived? Like, what would be not around? I think we might mean, and this is no shade on you, I don't think we'd be much further than the cavemen.
I disagree because I think if you give people time and motivation, necessity is the mother of invention. Basically, people had to invent shelter. They had to invent warmth. Right. They had to invent. What
about the camera
to survive? And
would you have invented the camera?
That is time. That's people giving time and fulfilling a need. Again, necessity. There was a need to document things. It's sort of that Pavlovian thing. Once the basic needs are taken care of, then you start spending your time on other things, other endeavors.
Yeah.
And I think for people like Einstein, his IQ is smart, but not that smart compared to other people.
Well, and that's too what I was going to say is that I know that science moves incrementally. So it's not like Einstein came up with all this.
Everything was built upon.
Absolutely. He probably helped close some loops, though, helped fill some gaps that had been missing. Probably needed him to kind of, as we say, push over the finish line.
Well, the other thing that was said about Einstein is that he was very much a free thinker and a creative thinker. So I have some quotes in here from him about creativity, but he wasn't somebody who just learned by memorizing things. He tried things. He experimented with stuff.
He rejected all that stuff.
And so ultimately, I do think we're as smart as most people before us. I don't think we're any dumber than them, or they were any. I feel like humans have evolved. Obviously, the brain has gotten bigger, and we have more nutrition. At least we did 100 years ago than we do today. We were more physically active 100 years ago than we are today. We might be on the decline. I think I was talking to somebody about this, and I don't know if it was you or me, or maybe you said this in the podcast, and I was listening to it, that we were talking about, wouldn't it be interesting if we were at the peak of humanity right now? Like if everything from here on out was downhill, in terms of standard of living, in terms of intelligence, in terms of,
and you said there's no way.
I don't know, man. Sometimes it feels like it. But all of that said, back to Einstein, I disagree with the notion that we needed brilliant people ahead of us. We needed motivated people ahead of us to make these things work. People that needed that. So the whole reason that we discovered atomic weapons is because of World War II. At the time, Roosevelt, I'm going to tie him back in to this show because we always do that.
Minor character in every episode.
Roosevelt didn't realize Einstein's the one who kind of brought it to his attention that the Germans were working on these weapons of mass destruction, these nuclear and atomic weapons, and said to him, we need to do something. We need to beat them to it. And actually, interestingly, Roosevelt listened, and he this was FDR, Franklin Delano, not Theodore. He listened, or Eleanor. He listened.
Also married to his cousin.
Right. They developed the the atomic bomb, used it to end the war. But after that, Einstein was always very sad about that and sorry about that. And he said, had he known that Germany wouldn't be able to actually do it, because Germany didn't reach it. Now, of course, maybe we stopped them before they could, given enough time, they might have. But he said, had he known, he wouldn't have done it, that he regretted doing it because Germany didn't turn out to be as much of a threat as he thought it would be. But, you got to be, if you think you're going to get I think atomic's the proper term, atomic weapons dropped on you, you better be ready, you know?
Yeah.
So World War II, speaking of all that, really kind of upended his life. He had to move from Europe to the United States. And he said about race, because a lot of World War II was based on the master race and the Nazis' belief that they were the superior race. Einstein said, "I do not believe in race as such. Race is fraud. All modern people are the conglomeration of so many ethnic mixtures that no pure race remains." And so once he came to the U.S., he really dedicated himself to academic study. He never worried about how he looked. He never worried about his clothes. As a matter of fact, it's said that he had just like 2 colors of sweaters or shirts and two pairs of pants and just wore the same thing all the time. He didn't comb his hair. He just, all of that, he didn't matter. He said it was inessential, and it meant less time for his research. So he just really, really embodied that look of the crazy professor.
Yeah, he's the quintessential academic. I work with a lot of people that look like him.
The question is, was that a stereotype before him, or did he sort of, kind of create that stereotype based on how he looked?
I don't know. Did he have patches on his sleeves too?
I don't think he cared enough for that. He just, if there was a hole in his sleeve, he just let it be a hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said about God that who reveals himself. Oh, he said he did believe in God, but he wasn't particularly related to any established religion. He said said that God was who reveals himself in the harmony of all being. That was his quote. And he said, science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. And I don't think he meant lame in the sort of lame kind of way. I think he meant couldn't move, like actually crippled.
I like that he was not just a natural scientist, but he was kind of a philosopher too.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just because people were asking him these deep questions or if that's how he was kind of wired.
No, I think he was wired that way because it said he very much was an open thinker. He actually joined the NAACP here in the U.S. He joined a civil rights movement, and I guess this was a real thing, which is sad, but it was called the American Campaign to End Lynching.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a part of that. He supported that. He said that racism was America's worst disease.
I think he's right.
Still is. It's right up there. But he definitely at the time was, speaking out. And I think also being a Jewish and understanding the or at least of Jewish descent, understanding the hatred that was going on during World War II. He described himself as a Zionist. Do you know what a Zionist is? I didn't know, and I actually looked it up from this.
Tell me.
It's someone who supports the existence of a Jewish state.
Okay.
He described himself as a Zionist socialist.
Right. So Israel didn't become a state until after we're talking about.
Yeah,
so that was a big,
the 40s, right?
Yeah.
And then he was actually offered the position, it didn't say who offered this position, to be the president of Israel, but he declined, saying neither the natural ability nor the experience to deal with human beings, that he didn't have either of those things. But it was, kind of a big deal. They said, hey, why don't you be president of this new thing we're calling Israel?
Yeah. That's awesome.
As I said, he kind of helped with the Manhattan Project. He didn't just kind of help. He was a big part of it. He instigated it. But his quote was, had I known the Germans would not succeed in producing an atomic bomb, I would not have lifted a finger.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said that in 1947.
Wow.
So at the end of the war, of course, we've all heard of the McCarthy era. The McCarthy era. I think we have a new McCarthy,
right.
Don't we?
Yeah, we do.
New McCarthy era. The old McCarthy era. He was actually scrutinized for his links to potential communism, and he wrote articles in favor of socialism. One was called Why Socialism? He criticized capitalism, and he suggested a democratic socialist alternative. Little Bernie Sanders there.
Sure.
He was also a strong critic of the arms race for weapons. But I thought this was a great quote. And the first time I read it, I actually didn't get it. And then I reread it and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So listen closely. About the arms race, he said, I do not know how the Third World War will be fought, but I can tell you what they will use in the fourth. Rocks.
Wow. The Planet of the Apes there.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. I thought that was pretty awesome.
That's great. Yeah. I love that quote.
And yeah, I read it at first, and I thought he meant rocks, as in like rock, like hey, that rock. I don't know, I couldn't, but like literally, if we blow each other's up, that's going to be the only weapon.
Yeah.
So you asked earlier about him, not just being a scientist, but also having, open mind and a social kind of making social commentary. He was also a musician. So he actually told the Saturday Evening Post, if I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. He played the violin and the piano, and he had several violins during his life, but probably they estimated between 5 and 10, different times in his life that either got given away, broken, whatever. But he always named them Lina, Lina. So all of his violins were named Lina. And in 2018, one of them was sold at auction for, you want to guess how much someone bought it for?
Oh, geez.
It's probably less than you think. When I saw the number, I was like, that's a lot of money, but I would have thought Einstein's violin would have fetched more. So
Really? So, I don't know, 100,000 then?
517,000.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I was thinking it would be in the millions.
Well, except for it was Einstein's violin. He wasn't known as a violinist.
Yeah, which I think makes it all that much cooler.
I mean, his slide rule would probably go for more than that, right?
Well, it was also said by his second wife, Elsa, that oftentimes when he was trying to suss out a problem, working out something in the scientific world, he would sit down at the piano, play the piano, stop, jot down some notes, and then continue playing, and would do this for a while until he had solved the problem.
Why did you think it would go for more than? I mean, he wasn't a violinist.
I don't know.
It's like buying Johnny Depp's guitar.
No, Einstein and Johnny Depp, you can't even compare those two.
I just did.
You did, but I mean, yeah, I don't think
Kevin Bacon's harmonica.
Again. I mean, if we were talking maybe George Washington and Einstein, or we were talking a saint, and I mean, there's a lot of people, but Johnny Depp and who did you just say? Whoever you just said are not on par with Einstein.
My point is, it's a tool, something he's not known for.
Which I think makes it all the cooler. It was his passion. He loved music.
Okay, but he loved his cousin too.
So let's talk about IQs, Mr. Smarty Pants, Einstein. So Einstein never actually had a formal IQ test given, or at least nobody knew that he did. But
they were kind of in their infancy back then anyways. They weren't real good tests.
You want to guess Einstein's estimated IQ? Based on
today's numbers?
Well, based on people today, knowing what he said and what he knew, what did they guess his IQ to be? Estimate it to be. I won't say guessed.
I know
estimated.
that a standard IQ, the average is 100 and the standard deviation is 15.
Yep.
So if he were 2 standard deviations.
So 85 is on the low end, 115 is on the high end.
Right. So if he was 2 up, which is, top 2%, that would put him at 130. So, yeah, I would say he'd be in the 130 range.
So his IQ, Einstein's IQ, was estimated to be around 160.
That's incredibly high.
It is high. 0.01 or something like that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, as you said, the
put some 4 standard deviations above the mean.
Wow, look at that Einstein over there.
Yeah.
I don't know what you just said, but it was sure sexy.
You've been talking about particles and
so according to my sources, about 70% of the people in the world have an IQ between 85 and 115.
Right,
as you said, 120 to 140 is considered very superior intelligence. 110 to 119 is considered superior intelligence. 90 to 100 or 90 to 109 or 85 to 115 is average.
Right.
So other people with an IQ of 160 that have been measured, you want to guess some big computer guy, not Michael Dell.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yep. IQ of 160.
Yeah.
Handsome fella, dated Demi Moore.
Bill Gates did?
No, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, I thought
Ashton Kutcher has an IQ of 160.
Yeah, he was a chemical engineer.
Got his butt kicked by Ivan Drago in the 4th movie. Sylvester Stallone.
He is not a 160.
That's what it said.
I don't believe that.
Yep. It doesn't come across that way, but he's...
No, I just don't. I mean, that is so incredibly high.
So some other people with high IQs in the sort of 130 range. Beyonce, supposed to have a 130 IQ. James Franco.
Okay, yeah.
He's supposed to be pretty smart. Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
She's pretty smart. Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't doubt your sources, but not very many people actually take IQ tests either. So it's odd that every celebrity's taken it and none of us have taken it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but if you're a smart celebrity, that's one of those things
why do we have
my respect for Ashton Kutcher went up when I saw that. It's like, oh, I just thought he was some beefcake dude that
I respected him when he married Demi Moore.
Yeah, of course. Guys our age do that.
Sure.
And guys his age were like, "What are you doing, dude? She's old. She's an old hag.
My IQ has
A Hagenstimmer."
My IQ has gone down since we started this podcast.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, if you got somewhere else to be, Alex.
Einstein.
So 160 was what they estimated his to be. So some of the highest IQs in the world, William James Sidis. He was born in 1898, died in 1944. He was a child prodigy mathematician, and he was another one of those ones that was a little before this, but they estimated his IQ between 200 and 250.
That doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, Marilyn Vos Savant.
I remember.
You've heard of her?
Oh, she used to have an article in Parade magazine.
She's still alive.
Do you remember this woman?
She's still alive.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
I used to read this every Sunday in Parade magazine, and people would ask her the most ridiculous questions. Like, she was supposed to have the highest IQ of anybody.
Well, first of all, it was
alive.
Parade magazine, right?
Right. And people would ask her, like,
this isn't like, some highbrow magazine.
she would put herself out there as the smartest person in the world. And people would say things like, my cat peed on my couch. How do I get it out? How do I get it out of my couch? And she would answer.
Yeah. She was like Ask Alice or Dear Abby.
She would just answer the most, or they'd ask questions about the relationships and very social stuff.
Not really appropriate to a genius.
They would never ask her questions that, no, and I think there was a lot of sexism in that, quite frankly. Now looking back, they would ask her questions that you'd ask of a smart girl, but not, you wouldn't have asked Einstein these questions.
Yeah, you'd ask a stewardess this, not a flight attendant.
But like I said, as a social scientist and budding social scientist, I used to love reading that because it would always be questions that I think I could answer that.
So do you want to guess Marilyn Vos Savant?
I think she used to say it was like 158 or something like that.
228 is what the Guinness Book of World Records said.
I don't even know if it's
and by the way,
possible to compute things.
The Guinness Book of World Record actually doesn't it no longer recognizes the smartest or the highest IQ anymore.
Good.
Yeah, they
it's
got
so
rid of that.
irrelevant. Too.
It was a category that has done its time. Leonardo da Vinci, also around 180 is what they said. So unfortunately, 1955, the world stopped when Albert Einstein died in 1955. But did you ever hear what happened after he died?
To him?
Yeah, to his body.
Was he given the cryo treatment?
The Geronimo treatment? No. So the physician, a pathologist named Thomas Harvey, who was performing an autopsy, actually stole his brain.
Wow.
Took his brain out, put it aside, and had hoped to put it into a jar and had hoped to study it, and was caught. But I don't know whatever happened to the brain. But yeah, his brain was removed without the family's or anybody else's permission.
Was caught.
Yeah,
I would love to see how that went.
Did you take Einstein's brain?
Backpack.
Yeah, he's walking out. Hey, what is that lump? Run it through the X-ray again.
I wonder,
he was trying to get on a plane. He was trying to get on a flight, and they pulled him to the side. Customs did. And
I don't even
TSA.
know if they had technology back then to be able to study a brain. I mean, it probably all the brains look the same.
1955. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some. Yeah, they could study brains, and I mean, we were.
Depends what you mean by study. You could observe it and look at differences.
Poke it with a stick.
Yeah, sure.
See what it does.
Exactly.
It quivered again.
It's not going to look any different than yours or mine. No offense.
I don't know, man. I feel like his might have had more neurons or something going on.
You can't see that. You can't visibly see that.
So we already talked about the my wrap up of the famous companies with the name Einstein. And again, if you want to,
wait a minute, hold on. He wouldn't have been able to get anyone to help him with that study. He would have had to do it all himself because he stole it.
Well, he was a pathologist.
But he would have had to do it all by himself.
Yeah, and he could have gotten all the glory.
No, because he had to keep it secret.
I'm the one who figured out that Einstein's brain has special neurons in it that make everybody smart. And
how'd you do that, Professor?
Well, once he figured it out, it wouldn't have mattered.
How'd you do that, Professor?
It's an ends it doesn't matter. I did it. It's the ends justify the means.
How do you know that he was so smart, Professor?
Because I have his freaking brain right here.
Oh, wait, how'd you get his brain?
I stole it.
You criminal thief.
I scooped it out of his head like a bowl of ice cream with a spoon.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Yeah, we promised in our trailer we weren't going to talk about death, and here we are talking about scooping brains out. So if you want to name your company, your band, do a commercial, anything like that, you go to Einstein.biz, and don't forget that you can talk to the AI Einstein. As a matter of fact, we're going to do that right after we finish recording. We're going to see if he's available at at digitalhumans.com.
So you're saying that if I wanted to have a rock band called Einstein's Cousin, that I would have to go through this outfit in order to do that?
Yep.
Come on.
Yep. Well, I mean, I suppose the point is that you would have to do that until the point where you got so popular that you actually were making money. It's just like our podcast here right now. Right now we can do whatever we want because nobody really cares, right? But at the point where we are popular enough and making money, people are going to start coming after us. Why? Because they want the money. And so,
what if I wanted to have a band named the Browning Movement?
Well, the Browning family might have an option.
Do we ever figure out what the Browning Movement
is? It was a dance. I'm telling you. Right. So, let me see here. BROWNING movement.
This is the kind of
there's Browning moving and storage.
That's it. They did it already.
All right. Brownian movement, also called the Brownian motion, is described as the uncontrolled and erratic movement of particles in a fluid due to their constant collision or other fast-moving molecules. So doesn't that sound like a dance?
It is a sort of dance.
Yeah.
A dance of molecules.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got on Mr. Einstein. Let me leave you with just a couple of quotes from Albert to leave us all feeling high and just high. All right. Feeling high. He said, if A is success in life, then A equals A plus Y plus Z. Work is X, play is Y, and Z is keeping your mouth shut. Must have been one of those.
That sounds snarky.
Yeah, a little snarky. Number 2, he said, and we've seen this before, we can't solve problems using the same kind of thinking we use to create them.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. He said, any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction.
Okay.
And then he said, logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere.
That sounds like something he would say.
And then finally, we'll leave you with this one. Anyone who's never made a mistake has never tried anything new.
You think he really said that?
According to the webs, he did.
Yeah, it didn't sound as eloquent as the other ones.
Yeah, but it's sort of true. No, nothing ventured, nothing.
No, it sounds like his brand. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was a free thinker.
Did he say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results?
He would have said that, except his brain was stolen. So. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. As we've said before, if you have a suggestion, we might not take it. We might, but email us at what? What's our email address? Not KNOT, but just NOT at dirtnapcity.com.
And then that's the @ sign.
Yeah.
Not
at dirtnapcity.com.
Right. Not at dirtnapcity.com.
And if you want to say bad things about me, email Alex at dirtnapcity.com. If you want to say bad things about Alex, email Alex at dirtnapcity.com.
Do you think there's a podcast called Catnap City?
There might be one called Cat Scratch Fever. We could have the Nuge on sometime. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Let's get him out here. Let's see what he has to say.
Woo! Pew, pew, pew. I got my crossbow aimed right at your heart, you libtard.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot. We enjoyed it. Take care.